All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. We'd love you to support this show. Please like, follow, and subscribe to us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Your likes and subscription helps us to grow and attract interviews and content. So please retweet and share our posts. Your contributions are appreciated.
Welcome to episode 473 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel, and joining me are Lonnie. Hello, Lonnie.
What's up?
And Ken.
Hey.
And Mark.
Greetings.
Today we're going to rank the songs that Kiss has covered. Which is the best Kiss cover ever? Which is the best cover Kiss ever did? We'll find out soon. But first, let's get into the news. And Ken, you picked up on some news. What have you seen lately?
Well, I mean, the biggest deal was Kiss had, their shows over in England, and they did some sound checks, which they haven't done in a while. And also, there was one little sound check, which was interesting if you watch it on video. It's out there. You can find it. It's on YouTube. With Paul Stanley, Tommy Thayer, and Eric Singer, they're behind the soundboard area, and where they mix things, and they're obviously trying to, play their instruments. You're not actually playing any songs in this video, but they're playing instruments to get this, where the sounds come. See if the sound is right back where it's where they were standing. So that was interesting. The other few were actual songs that they did on stage, and they did "Shock Me," which was it was actually a good performance of "Shock Me." I enjoyed that. And then Christine 16, as they usually do, and then "Hotter Than Hell," and all of them were okay. Paul sounded not too bad actually on "Hotter Than Hell," but yeah, it was kind of cool to see that because we haven't seen anything like that in a while.
Yeah, and Paul in denim, I don't think I've seen that since the tour of '88. That's kind of cool. So, Lana, have you seen any of the clips from the European tour?
Yeah, I mean, it's the soundtracks are probably the most interesting thing. I think the show itself is, it's what was expected. It's basically the same show we've been getting for.
Did they play?
Now.
Did they play? Did they play "Making Love" now, or didn't?
They are playing "Making Love."
Okay, they are playing,
which is cool. Which is cool. I mean, it's I guess it's something, different. So, the tour is what it is, and I wouldn't expect any kind of major changes on these last 50, 60, whatever dates how many dates we have. So, I mean, it's exciting though. I mean, but it's most people that are seeing them in Europe, obviously, this is the last time. Majority of the people, this is the last time they're going to see them. Everybody's posting pictures of their last Kiss show, and I think this time we could really, really buy in that this really is the last time.
Yeah, Mark, anything you want to add to
You're
the?
muted.
Yeah, I think you muted. You did, I can.
Sorry, that was me. Sorry, because I was checking out the sound check there. I just checked out them like not long ago. Surprisingly, Paul sounds not too bad. I was expecting him to sound like all cackle, right? But it's not too bad. Gene, Gene's good. His vocals have never been an issue. So Christine 16 sounds fine. And "Shock Me" was good. I mean, I think Tommy gets some bad rap always just because he's Tommy Thayer and he's not Ace, which I think is a good thing, to be honest with you. But it's good though. He did a good job. I think he plays the songs good. He sings good. He doesn't sound like Ace, but
solid.
But it sounds good. Not everybody can be like Ace, right? So
That's true.
His vocals are one of a kind, that's for sure, with Ace. But Tommy's a good singer. He did this. I think he does the song justice, and I think the clips were actually decent. I have to agree with Lonnie that those are probably the more interesting parts of the videos of late, because we've seen the show 100 times in this arrangement with the pods and blah blah blah. How it is. It's nothing new anymore with this.
No, that's true. I guess that's the Kiss news this week. The European tour has started, and I'm going to be at 2 shows in Sweden. I can't wait. I think it'll be a great experience. But what about you guys? Did you get any Kiss stuff this week? I know Ken got something.
I did get the delivery finally. I got the Kiss Alive. I didn't get the picture disc. I got the colored vinyl. Here it is.
Yep.
And I actually put the sticker on the cover.
Yeah, I do.
Wow.
Is that a no or what?
No,
I
don't
do
know.
it.
Some people
Different schools.
I do it on some, and then I do it on inner sleeves and some. I switch it around, but or I don't put it on at all.
I want to see the inside of that album. Is it?
So inside, well,
yeah.
Let's open this inside part here, which is the.
That's the way it was supposed to look all along.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. That was like a fold out, and all of it was a fold out, and originally, the CD when it originally came out.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is cool. And then the inner sleeves are good, with all the pictures.
I got a question for you, Ken, after you're done showing it.
Cool.
And then the key thing, okay. And then the key thing here is the vinyl, and actually this side looks better. I think it's like more like fire,
nice.
kind of.
It's like the color in the logo on the cover. Yeah,
It's like that.
That's
But yeah. Some of them, it's different on every side, of course, because it's just a squashing of the stuff. But yeah, it's kind of cool. So that's the item. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Ken, I'm very curious about one thing. Did they correct any of the errors on the inside there? Like when they're listing the songs on there, did they still have "I Was Made for Loving You" from Dress to Kill on there?
Here it is, right here. It says, "Creatures of the Night." Watching you. I just want to take it off. Heaven's Fire. I Was Made for Loving You. Is from Dynasty.
Oh, they fixed it.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, good.
They actually put it to work.
The only thing they messed up on that, because every other one they say like "Look It Up" is from "Look It Up" album. Detroit City is from Destroyer album. That's the only one where they don't say album after Dynasty, so they still blew it in a way because it's inconsistent with the rest of them. Every other one says album, but
what did they say? Watching You
is from Dynasty.
What about Watching You? Is Watching You correct?
Watching You is from Hotter Than Hell album.
Okay, good. Because I know there was another one that they botched on there.
They still messed it up. They needed to put album after Dynasty, but oh well. The next 40-year anniversary, they can get it.
Anniversary.
In 2033, they can get that fixed.
Yeah. And of you, Mark or Lonnie, did you get anything?
I got my Live 3.
Yeah.
It came on Thursday, so that's. I got the same one, Ken did. I didn't get the picture disc. Although I've seen
the same one.
I've seen pictures of that picture disc. Those are pretty cool with
the picture disc,
with the Paul and the Gene and the Bruce and the Eric pictures. Those are pretty slick looking for sure.
I did order one as well, but of course, in typical fashion, I have still not received mine yet. Kiss Online, I'm looking at you. Mine is held up in Illinois for some reason. It's been there for 5 days, apparently, sitting in there, according to their tracking system.
Your whole country's on fire. They don't want to ship anything up there.
It's on fire. You're on fire, Mark.
Fire.
You're on fire.
It was actually pretty interesting, though, that the other day it was so it was so misty from the smoke here. Like it was like dark already, like 4 o'clock because of the smoke. It was really weird.
Jeez.
We've been through that.
I remember Ken had some big fires around him a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so that's the stuff you got this week. Let's move on to some of the comments from last week. I think it was it just the three of you last week?
I think so.
I wasn't here last week.
Yeah.
I think it's
Some of
me. Yeah.
Yep. Some of the comments. 428 Rocker 68. All killer, no filler albums for me would be Animalize and Lick It Up. Favorite non-makeup band outfits would be Animalize. I love the leather and animal skins. David Moore, to answer how is Vinny paying the bills after only 6 people showed up at his latest show? Well, he doesn't pay any of the people. Mr. Wilkie does not get paid. He gets some swag given to him, and he did get a couple of guitars. Chuck McFarlane, Mark was on fire. And if I heard correctly, he said that Gene Simmons is you're going to burn in hell. Yeah. Did you say that Gene Simmons is going to burn in hell? Maybe you did. Maybe you
not
did.
Specifically like that, but it's somewhere along those lines.
Yeah. Bjorn again, 76, a devoted listener. 5 songs that should be better known to the general public: Good Girl Gone Bad, Charisma, What Makes the World Go Round, My Way, and Exciter. And this guy called Matt, he said, Mark has been swearing a lot this episode, which he never does. It is not your style. So shame on you. And other honorable mentions are Jason Leonard, a devoted listener, Charles Bronson, he always comments on the episodes, Bill Phelps, and Titania Bell. We do appreciate your comments and keep them coming. So, should we move on into today's topic, maybe?
Sure.
Today's topic is, of course, the songs that Kiss have covered. And all of you guys voted favorite to least favorite. 15 points for your favorite, 1 point for the least favorite. And let's take a look at the average score. I'll show it here on the screen. If you're watching on YouTube, you will be able to see this. Here are the 5 songs that didn't make the cut. In last place, When You Wish Upon a Star. In 14th place, Venus and Mars. 13, Any Way You Want It. 12, Then She Kissed Me. And 11, Star Spangled Banner. So those songs didn't even make the cut. I don't know if you want to comment on any of those songs. Let's go to Ken. Do you have anything to say about those songs that didn't make the cut? Any surprises?
No, I mean...
And you see the average score to the right there. So When You Wish Upon a Star.
Yeah. I mean, When You Wish Upon a Star, obviously no one cares for it. It wasn't my lowest. I mean, I understand it. Excuse me. It was that song, even though it's a bottom, I understand it. Gene's vocal on that is obviously, he can do better than that vocal. That vocal is not a good vocal. But supposedly they took the take that was where he was all choked up and kind of like crying about it, as he was singing it. So, and they decided to keep that. So I would have rather them just pulled off a great vocal, which he can do if he wants to. I think the song would probably be higher. It's a Disney song and so on, but I think it would be higher. I mean, it was higher on my list than that, but it is what it is. Some of the other ones are maybe okay. I kind of agree with, and some I don't.
When You Wish Upon a Star was pretty low on your list, Mark. But what do you have to say about those?
Well, I mean,
Gene hater.
I can understand why why they maybe took that emotional version of it for the vocal. I wonder if there's a version around there where he's like so teared up that he has like a handkerchief, like When You Wish upon a Star, he's blowing his nose, he's all crying,
More entertaining, maybe.
That'd be great to hear that. I mean, to hear him all emotional and slobbering in a handkerchief. But I don't. That song, the very first time I heard that, I was actually very surprised. I thought it was an error. I thought that really they must have printed the wrong song on the CD or something. But it's just so un-Gene-like. But then that whole CD sort of is. I mean, people were expecting heavy metal Gene, and they got like, Walt Disney Gene, right? So, but the other songs too. I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, Any Way You Want It is just terrible. Venus and Mars. I mean, it's not a look. I'm not a big Paul McCartney solo guy, so it doesn't affect me one way or another. But then She Kissed Me is also horrendous, But the Star Spangled Banner actually I thought could have gone up a little bit higher. I mean, it's not a bad song, but I really like the way they arranged it for the show and how they synced it with all the pyro and stuff like that. I thought it was a really good way to end the show and to show their Americana, so to speak. Yes.
Just a quick point on that, because that one is taken from, it's Alive, right? They did do other songs live, like Won't Get Fooled Again or something like Way Back, and a couple, Oh Susanna.
Oh yeah, that had to make the list.
But I guess we're not counting those unless it was actually got on an
official release.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah. Lonnie.
I mean, the songs that are on the bottom aren't surprising. I mean, the majority of them were in my bottom, 5 as well.
I think you had Any Way You Want It dead last.
Yes, I did.
Why do you hate that song so much?
Well, that's a great question for me. Is why do I hate something? Because I always ask you guys.
Why do you hate
but
it?
Any Way You Want It, Mark said it. It is horrendous. When that song comes on, I'm done listening to Alive 2. I can't make it through it. It's why they chose they chose that to end Alive 2 when you had we've heard some of the other songs that were rejected for Love Gun and in that era. That why we chose to throw that on there to close out that album is really kind of mind blowing. It's my dead last on the covers, and it might be pretty close to dead last. Well, I can't say that because there are worse Kiss songs than that. So,
there are.
Well, thanks for your take on that, and let's reveal number 10. Number 10 is. Let's see. We'll do it like this: Odyssey of the Elder. So, Mark, what do you have to say about this cover, Odyssey?
Well, actually, it's ironic because on my list, it's almost in that position. I think I had it at number 9. It's one of those songs where it's not a bad song. I mean, it's just hearing Kiss do it though. It just doesn't. I don't think it suits it very well. And the way Paul sings it is very surprising for Paul Stanley, the way we're so used to hearing him sing. He's very singing like this, very full voice, operatic singing, So, like I said, if it was anybody else who did it, maybe it was like another band, maybe it wouldn't be such a, shocking song. But I think with Kiss doing it, and it also didn't help that it was on that album to begin with too. I mean, once you get to that song, you're already so, you're so already like so shocked from everything else you've heard to that point that doesn't help either once it gets to that. So it's definitely not the bottom 5, but it's not a great song.
Yeah, maybe we have to make it clear what goes into a great cover for you, Mark. Maybe you can explain what you think is a great cover. What makes a good cover? Well,
usually for me, I like songs that are different from the original in some ways. I mean, a lot of the times, like that's why I've always liked Yes, is because they'll do a song like they did a Beatles song. I forget what the song is from their first album, but they did a Beatles song, and they totally changed. Like you would never even have known that it was a Beatles song until they got to the chorus of it. So I think that and even like America, they did America by Paul Simon, and you would never know that it was America until certain parts of the song. For me, I think when you take a song and kind of make it more your own style, like the band style, I think that's that's what makes a cover strong. I mean, unless if you're gonna do it like exactly the way it is, I think it has to be performed like really, really well, like better than the original, which is very difficult to do, right? Otherwise, I would just say that for me, that what I look for is some changes in it, some put your element of your band in it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of bands do that well.
I have to agree with what Mark said. Lonnie, do you have anything to add? What goes into a great cover?
I think it's being true to the original to a certain extent, but at the same time, putting your own signature and your own take on it, kind of make it your own. But at the same, but it's difficult. You want to be true to the original as much as possible at the same time.
Yeah. And what about you, Ken?
Yeah, I agree. You want to make it your own, but without messing up the integrity of the original, especially if you have no reminiscence. If there's no if you don't replicate the chorus, which is usually the most important thing, and you totally destroy that, then lots of times it turns out to be a horrible cover because it doesn't even sound anything like the original.
No.
And there's a lot of cases I've seen where people ruin songs when they do a cover. But they make it their own, but keep the integrity of the song. It's usually pretty good.
Yeah.
Great, just one thing. Sorry, Daniel. One thing. The song that I was thinking of is "Every Little Thing." That's the Beatles song that they did.
Oh, Every Little Thing.
Okay, Everything.
Yeah.
Lonnie just went away, so let's go.
He was ordered to do the laundry. I think.
Let's hear your take on Odyssey, Ken.
Odyssey, Oddity, maybe.
Yeah.
But it was actually lower on my list, and I love music from The Elder. I love that album. I think it's great. That is the low point for me of that album. The problem is, yes, I think they tried to be so drastic with the "I Am Just a Boy," Paul with the high voice, the young child voice kind of thing, and then they go, okay, now he's a man. You're gonna sing in a low voice, like Mark said, operatic or whatever. I think I call it like the Broadway voice or whatever, like you're in a play on stage. Yes, that's the problem with that. Is I think if he was singing in his normal, that song would have been a heck of a lot better. Just changing the vocal alone.
Yeah. Personally, I have to say I think it was an oddball choice for the record, but it's an oddball record overall. So I think, and it's not that different from the original. I think they haven't added a whole lot of stuff to it that improved the original song. So that's why it's pretty low on my list. I don't even remember where it was, but it was. Let's see. I gave it 4 points, so it wasn't at the bottom, but close to the bottom. And I think it's where it deserves to be. But it's still, they made an effort and they tried to make it their own. But I don't know if they really succeeded.
But Daniel, I mean, this is a good example of a song where they literally could have just took the singer's voice out, had Paul sing over the original music, and it would have just probably sounded the same.
Yeah, that's the problem. They didn't do a whole lot with it. So, Lonnie, what about the Odyssey?
It's very different. Obviously, it's not what you mean. It kind of fits in vein with look where the album comes off of with the Elder. So, it's not my favorite song on the Elder, nor is it my favorite Kiss cover. I think it's ranked pretty properly in our list. I think probably all four of us probably had it. Middle third or lower than that. Yeah. So I think it's deserving where it is.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. So in 10th place, Odyssey with an average score of 5.25. That's pretty low. Let's see the next one. The next one in 9th place is Tossin' and Turnin' with an average score of 6. So, Lonnie, maybe you can get us started on Tossin' and Turnin'.
Yeah, so That one, where did I put it at? I put Tossing and Turning. I put it at 10th, so I didn't have it, extremely high. I think it's fine actually, and it, the band even played it live a little bit on the Dynasty tour too, and I think it's a decent Peter song. It it fits in with Peter's solo album pretty well. It doesn't like the fact that there's a cover right in the middle of it. It doesn't like a lot of times when a band puts a cover on an album, it's kind of like, ooh, and there's this cover and it kind of just doesn't gel very well with the rest of the album.
Right.
But I think that song really fits in the vein of Peter's album and what he was trying to get across to the audience. I think it's fine. I think Peter does a great job on it actually. And it's not my least favorite, but it's not my favorite either. But I think it fits well for what it is.
Yeah. Interesting point. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, this song, it's interesting. I remember the first time I heard it. It does suit Peter's solo album. I have to agree with Lonnie that when you listen to it in context with the other songs on there, it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb at all. It's because you knew that he was going to go for, well, once you've listened to it, you knew that he was going for like a soul / disco sort of, or that kind of groove in the music. But just when you compare it to like Kiss songs in general, though, I mean, it's just such an odd song. And I mean, the thing that's always kind of scarred my memory is the very first time I watched that Dynasty live video that they did, and they played this. I mean, just seeing Gene in that huge, demon outfit and him going do 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 do. It's like, wow, like, it just sounded just really odd hearing him sing these backing vocals to a song that I just don't think they should have did it. I think they could have did a better song off of Peter's record for the Kiss show. I mean, if this was like a Peter Chris solo show, you can do whatever he wants, right? But I had it about, what did I have it at? Number 12 out of 15. I had it pretty low. I never really liked that song, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Ken?
Yeah, I kind of always enjoyed it. I liked the way he did it. It's pretty sticks to the original from 1961, the old Bobby Lewis song. I think I probably heard that when I was the year I was born. It came out, so it's been around a long time. But I probably heard it then. When I was not even paying attention, it was probably on the radio or something like that. I was like a baby or something. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty cool song. Yeah, it's not the greatest song, but I think the reason he put that on his album because he had trouble sleeping at night. According to him, he has a hard time sleeping, and that's probably all the cocaine. He was going. I was like, well, maybe you just need to stop that, and you might be able to sleep.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So it's a pretty cool song. I enjoy it. It's not the greatest cover they've done, but it's not the worst. I think I had it around 8 on my list.
Okay. I have to agree with you guys. I think what Lonnie said, just you hit the nail on the head there. It suits the record. Nothing special, but it suits the record. Okay, let's move on to number 8. Number 8 is Rock and Roll Radio. Do you remember Rock and Roll Radio? Let's go to Mark for this one.
Rock and Roll Radio. Okay. Well, for me, this song was, I think, number 10 on my list. Why? I think I mentioned this once before because I think we did an episode about maybe not cover songs, but talking about certain songs that they did maybe on soundtracks or something like that. But I'm not a big Ramones fan. And I think this is why it never really stood out for me. I mean, when I heard that they did when they did this, it's not something that I really ran out to, and I have to hear it, because again, I don't like the Ramones too much. I mean, they're not a bad band. It's just I was never into the punk scene, like the whole Sex Pistols and the Clash and all that stuff. I mean, it just, to me, it was just, you got to remember, I'm come from the prog side of stuff. So, and us prog guys are like, punk, what the hell is that? Like, you know, so we always kind of poo-pooed on that kind of stuff. So I was never into the Ramones and that. So I couldn't possibly put it low, like the lowest, because of that, because it's still, they did it good, like they sang it good, right? But you know, it's still not anything that I would ever go and try to seek out personally.
Yeah, I think Venus. These are the two latest covers they did: Venus and Mars and Rock and Roll Radio. I think Venus and Mars. It reminds me of some of those Bob Kulick tribute albums where someone has recorded the music and you just add the vocals. Well, Rock and Roll Radio still feels like it has some Kiss vibes to it, and I guess you as a pro guitarist might have a hard time, liking the whole punk scene where it's about simplicity and playing the same stuff over and over. I kind of enjoyed this one. I had it a bit higher than you guys, so I was kind of surprised when they did that cover, and I think it sounds pretty good. It's a late addition to the Kiss catalog, and I remember appreciating it when it came out. But what about you, Lonnie?
I was excited when that came out in like 2000, maybe 2002, early 2003, maybe something around in there, because we hadn't gotten anything from Kiss since '98.
Those were some lean years there, 2002, 3, 4.
Right. So we hadn't gotten anything. Nope. The band had gone on a farewell tour. There was nothing going on, and then all of a sudden, here's this Kiss cover song. Like, oh wow! Like, I ran out and got it. I think the day it came out, even I was excited for it, and I remember listening to it quite a bit when it came out. But I ranked it a little bit lower because it's not something I've really gone back to a whole lot since that time. It's not something like I don't ever really seek it out or think I miss listening to that type thing. So I ranked it. It's good. I like the Gene and the Paul sharing the vocals, which is very unique and very cool. But it's just not something that I've really. I don't think it aged very well for me.
Wow, me and Lonnie had on the same wavelength this time for a song.
Wow, it doesn't happen very often.
Oh well,
that was wrong.
Ken.
Yeah, I always kind of liked it. I think they did a great job of it. Actually, in my opinion, I think I'm not like Mark where I don't like the Ramones. I like some of their stuff is pretty cool. I think that they've done. But I think for me, I think I like this better. It's better than the original Ramones version, in my opinion. I think Kiss,
wow.
they did their Kissified it to a degree. So I enjoy it. I always enjoy that song. Good vocals, like Daniel said, back and forth and that sort of stuff. So it was, pretty high on. I think it was around 9 on my list. So it's pretty close to what it ended up as being. So yeah, it's one of their better covers that they did.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. They Kissified it. They managed to make it sound like Kiss song. Okay, let's move on to number 7. Number 7 is Kissin' Time, and you see a bit of a jump in the average score from these three below are pretty close. Now we move up onto an average score of 9 out of 15. So you guys had this pretty high on your lists. Ken, what do you have to say about Kissin' Time, an early cover?
Kissin' Time. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it to a degree. I mean, it's on the first album. It sounds Kiss. It blends in pretty well with the other music on that album, at least the production. It's pretty close, obviously. I don't know what I had it on mine. Oh yeah, I did have about 7. So it's right on where I thought it should be. It's a fun song. Was it the right song to cover? I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Some people really don't like the song at all. But I still think it's definitely, you hear it. It's Kiss. It's Kiss. It's pretty on, close to the original, I guess, version, but it's obviously, again, like the other one, you call it KissFAQ or whatever you want to call it. It's definitely blends in with the first album pretty good. So it's a decent song.
Lonnie.
I had it right at 7, so it's in pretty lockstep where I had it. It's decent. It's good. Like Ken said, it fits in well enough on the first album. It is a little bit of a jump when you go in, when you're listening to side 2 of the original album. Then all of a sudden, you have songs like 100,000 Years and Black Diamond and things like that on there. No, here's Kissing Time, and it's just
competition.
Right. It's a little different, but like Ken said, production wise, it fits in well enough. But it's a decent song, and it's the original band, and it's fun enough at the same time that I had it ranked, kind of middle of the pack. It's I have no quorums with it or anything like that. It's fine.
Yeah, Mark.
Well, I have it at number 6. For me, when I was going through these songs, I went through it. I had to, when I honestly thought about it, I don't really dislike this song. I mean, the only part of this song I don't like is just off the top, that whole bop, 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 and then wake up Detroit, hello Sandy. Like that whole part is just like, if they would have got rid of that, I think the rest of the song would have been great, because I think Gene's voice is fantastic on this song. Like his voice, he has such a good rasp to it. And number one thing that I like about it is that it's way better than the original. The original version of this song is so shit. Like that. Anytime is a kissing time.
What's the language there?
Yeah. I won't be watching that anytime soon. Trust me. But that whole thing in the chorus just really bugs me. That whole marching drum thing that they put in there and everything. It just the whole swinging vibe of the original is just terrible. I think they really took this and made it definitely more of a Kiss song. And I know that they hate it, but I think actually it's not that bad a song. I think over the years, for me personally, I've gotten used to it more on the album than I did when I first, the first couple of times I heard it. As I've listened to it more and more, I just find that it suits the record. And it's not that bad a cover. Believe it, as we already said, there's been much worse covers than that on the Kiss albums. So
I think this is one of the Kiss covers that we all kind of, enjoyed to some extent, because from the 7 positions, from 1 to 7, we all have the same songs. So, and this one got 9 from Ken, 8 from me, 10 from Mark, and 9 from Lonnie. So we kind of rank it the same. And now we move into the top songs, the 6 finalists, and let's see what the next one is. It is this one. Let's see if I can go for that one. I'll just have to add that thing over there, like that. Number 6. Number 6 is That You from Unmasked, with an average score of 10.75. So that's pretty high. The maximum is 15. So we all kind of rank this song pretty high. Let's go to Lonnie for this one.
Yeah, I have it right at 6 also. It's good in the fact that when I heard it, I had to look it up that it was a cover, and I you know what I mean? I didn't buy Dynasty the day, Unmasked the day it came out. I listened to it, and I bought the CD, I don't know, 95, let's just say, and put it on, and I knew Shandy that was really about it when I bought Unmasked. It was probably one of the last Kiss albums that I bought when going back and buying the back catalog, just because there wasn't a whole lot like that stood out for me looking at it at the record store, and the cover sucks. So it wasn't like something that I really sought out, and probably one of the last ones that I bought. And I just remember putting it on, listening to it, and like, oh, well, it's this is how it starts off. It's kind of poppy, and I had heard that this album's kind of poppy, and it wasn't until I think I put it on in the car, then I got home and was looking through the liner. I was, I guess that's a cover song. I think that's good that it doesn't stand out as something different, and it's very unusual that they led off the album with a cover, obviously, too. That's not something that's
Never
done
happened.
very often by not something that very happens often by any band, much less Kiss. So I think it's a good song, though. Actually, I mean, they played it live. It sounded good on the Unmasked tour. They really, like we were talking about earlier, they really made it their own, and it blends in very nicely with what they were trying to accomplish with Unmasked.
Yeah, I have to second Lonnie on this one. It blends in really good with the rest of the songs, and I never understood that it was a Kiss cover until way later, maybe in the 90s. After a few years of listening to Kiss, I understood that it was a cover. It works well, even though I think it might be the weakest opener on any Kiss album, one of the weakest openers at least. But it's an okay song. It's pretty good. What about you, Mark? What do you have to say about Is That You from Unmasked?
I had it number 7 on my list. Much like you guys, when I got this album, and again, me and Lonnie seem to be in lockstep with this, I got Unmasked last. It was my very last Kiss album I bought from the back catalog. And again, it's because, much like Lonnie, every time I saw it and I saw the cover, I was like, what is this? Like, that didn't appeal to me as a Kiss album like the other albums did for some reason. I grabbed it eventually, and when I put it on, I thought it was interesting. It was, pretty rocking song, but I was one of those guys even early on, but this is not really early because, like I said, I got this last. I was already one of those guys who was always looking at who's the songwriter and who produced this and this and that. And then when I saw the name of the songwriter, like, who's that? Like, there's no Stanley, no Simmons. So right away I was like, okay, this is not a Kiss song. So it kind of made it more believable because there was elements of the song that just didn't seem like a Kiss song in it. Lyrically, especially, I thought there was a little bit more. I'm not going to say dark, but it just was a little not as upbeat as some Kiss songs tend to be, right? So that was a bit different. So that stood out a bit. But musically, I think it's not that bad. And they liked it enough to play it on tour. So I think it's not that bad a song. Again, they have much better covers, but it's far from a bad one.
Yeah, Ken.
Yeah, I remember when I first got the album and I put that on and I heard that song. I thought something was weird about it, that it doesn't sound like a Kiss song, a Kiss written song. It just didn't sound. And then sure enough, it says it's someone written by someone else. I was like, okay, that's why. And the reason I think they let off with that, because that's really the hardest rocking song on Unmasked. I mean, it's a pop rock, type album, but that is probably the most rocking song on the album. So I can see why they put it there, even though it's not their best, song or anything. But it's still a decent song, good song. I enjoy it much better than a lot of other covers that they've done. Obviously, but it's pretty good. It's not my favorite one. It's obviously not a Kiss style song, but it still works.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the top 5. And in 5th position, it is I'm Back, Back in the New York groove. Huh. Cool. Yeah, the problem with this one, I think it's really similar to the original, even though it was a big hit and it's still played everywhere. I think it's a bit too similar to the original when you compare to some of the songs in the top positions. It's still a good cover, and I know Ace didn't want to do this. It was someone else who suggested this, and it was a real home run for him. And to this day, this song is played all over the world, and it's his biggest hit ever. And I kind of enjoy it when he plays it live, with that guitar, the strobe, the lights going out for the guitar. I think it's kind of cool, and everyone knows it's. And it sounded good on the reunion tour. I think I really enjoyed it when they played it live on the reunion tour, and it's a good song, but not in my top 3. But still a good song, and it got the average score of 11.5 out of 15. So all you guys had it pretty high. Ken, where did you have it, and what do you have to say about New York Groove?
Yeah, I mean, I had it at 6, so it's almost right on. I think it's a good. Obviously, it was a good choice to whoever suggested it. I don't know if it was the producer or somebody. I can't remember whether Eddie Kramer or someone else. But it was a good idea to pick that song. Obviously, became a hit. Pretty decent hit single, the only one out of all the solo albums. So, and it fits, New York, they come from New York. It just kind of fits the whole thing. And it's a catchy song. It's enjoyable when I, listen to it. So I like their performance, like in 79 Largo, that one they do it on, and they're kind of having fun with it on the stage, that old bootleg. So good song, Russ Ballard written song, right? And he's written some pretty, cool songs. I think Ace has done 1 or 2 more of his songs. So it's a good song. That's why it's where it's at.
Lonnie.
It's good. I mean, I had it ranked number 2 on my list. Actually, I thoroughly enjoy New York Groove. It's basically a Kiss classic, even though obviously Ace hasn't been in the band for 20 plus years. I mean, I still look at it as a Kiss classic, right up there with just about anything else. Like you guys were mentioning them playing it on the reunion tour. I saw him very early on the reunion tour, and since 1996, you couldn't just look up on the internet what songs they played opening night at Tiger Stadium. So, less than a week later, they're playing in St. Louis, and they play New York Groove, and my brother and I like high-fiving each other during the song. I'm like, oh, can you believe they're playing this? This is so freaking cool, and he had the guitar and everything, so it was really true to form and just incredible. And, I thought it was a shame that they didn't continue to play that song on Psycho Circus and on Farewell, because it is such a classic Kiss tune. I mean, it's the only song they played off the solo albums on the reunion tour. It's that great. And like Daniel said to start with it, it's still heard all around the world. I mean, you go watch a sporting event that a New York team is in, when they go to commercial break, a lot of the times you're going to hear that song when they come in or out of commercial break. It's a classic. So I had it ranked even higher than what the consensus was.
I think it worked kind of well live as well. I remember going to Stockholm Stadium in '97, and he just switched New York to Stockholm, and the crowd went ballistic. Back in the Stockholm Groove, and people went crazy. And I guess he did that for quite a few spots or shows, but it worked. What did you want to say there, Ken?
Oh, just to say that Kiss says they're only doing the hits in their touring and stuff. So why don't they put this in there? They can take out Making Love and put in New York Groove and let Tommy sing one. But I guess that's sacrilege or something, whatever. But to let Tommy sing it instead of Ace or whatever. But I think that would have, to me, that would go over pretty darn well in a live concert if they did it now instead of Making Love. I just think it makes more sense to me. That the casual fans are definitely going to know it.
Yeah. Mark, your take on New York Groove.
New York Groove, I had a number 4. It is one of those songs, and like everybody already said, this is probably the only one that's a bona fide hit off of the solo albums. But there's one thing about this song that I was always wondering, like whenever I listen to it, I go, something about this song that sounds familiar to me, and I was always thinking, why does this song? There's a hit for a reason, and I finally figured it out. In 1977, a year before this came out, there was another song that came out that had a very similar production style to this song called "We Will Rock You." How do you do a do 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 do? That whole do.
Queen.
Yeah, Queen. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That whole thing at the beginning that we do here on New York Groove, that whole duh. It's the exact same sort of foot stomp thing that they do in "We Will Rock You," except it's a different rhythm, and the production of it is exactly the same. I mean, Eddie Kramer must have scooped it from Roy Thomas Baker, that idea of doing that, and right away, when I hear it, and I'm sure lots of other people don't even realize it, they're kind of being reminded of "We Will Rock You." I guarantee you, when they hear that, because of that whole sound of that whole vibe at the beginning. And of course, once it kicks in, it's much different, right? Because you have to have that guitar in there, that flange guitar. But that's a trademark of Ace, because we already heard it in Rocket Ride and stuff like that kind of a flanger guitar. So there's elements in the song that Eddie put in that people would know that's, staple to Ace. And then that's a really neat trick about doing that with that production, because that to me instantly reminds me of Queen and one of the biggest Queen songs that ever happened. So no wonder it did as good as it did.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought of that. But when you say it, it rings true. Okay, number 4. Number 4 is 2000 Man, another Ace Frehley classic. And I think Ace Frehley did a great cover of the Rolling Stones song. It supersedes the original. I never got the original. It sounded kind of strange. I guess Rolling Stones were high on acid or something. That whole record is kind of strange, and we do know that they did some stuff, the Rolling Stones, but this one he makes it his own. I enjoy the way he sings it, and it's a cool riff. It even sounded decent on the unplugged version, I think. So it's a classic Ace Frehley song, and it averaged 12 out of 15. So all you guys must have had it pretty high. Lonnie, where did you have this one, and what do you think about 2000 Man?
I had it at 4, right in lockstep with where I had it. It's not surprising that this is ranked up there. It's again, it's almost in the same vein as New York Groove, where it was covered. It sounds great on the record. It sounds great when it's played live. When the band played it in '79, and then again when they played it in 2000 on the farewell tour, it fits. It fits Ace's personality very well. With
growing funny flowers.
Maybe not growing funny flowers. That's a little. I don't picture Ace with like a watering thing. Watering flowers on his windowsill.
I always thought it was about him growing marijuana.
Yeah. And
so that was perfect for him.
That does fit a whole lot better. So I think it works though. I think it's it's again it's a Kiss classic as well that hasn't been played in 20 plus years. So and again Ken mentioned, like, why don't they play New York Groove? Well, why don't they play this? I don't think this would be nearly as blasphemous as playing New York Groove, because the diehard Ace fans would be like, how can you play something off of Ace's solo album? Whereas if they played this, Well, yeah, it's an Ace Frehley song off Dynasty, but it's also a Rolling Stones song. So I think Kiss could get away with this even easier than Tommy singing "Shock Me," to be perfectly honest with you as well. And I'm surprised that they never even did that. And I think it would work. So and it's a great song. So I think it's deserving where it is on our list.
Yeah, Ken, your take on 2000 Man.
Yeah, I mean, this song is better than the Stones. If you've heard the Stones version of the song, this is much better. It improves that Stones song. I don't know if Rolling Stones feel, big Rolling Stones fans feel about that song, but I can't believe that they liked it that much. It's not a well-known Rolling Stones song, and for a reason. That's why you don't hear it on the radio ever. So it was an interesting choice for Ace to actually do this and change it up and make it work. And obviously it was good enough to where, Gene, Paul, and the rest thought, that they could do it, and they got on the album. So that's pretty amazing, in my opinion. But yeah, it's a pretty decent song. It was probably one of my least favorite songs on the album when I first got it. But it's grown on me a little bit over time. It's not a bad song. It's a good song. That's why I ranked it, I think, at 4 also, like Lonnie.
Yeah. And Mark is showing some video from the Dynasty tour when they were performing Ace's songs. What do you say about this song in particular, 2000 Man?
Yeah, I think I have to totally agree that the Rolling Stones version of this song is terrible. I remember the first time that I went to go look it up to see the original. The funny thing is, it's one of the hardest songs to try to find on YouTube, I found. Maybe it's not now, but back in the day when I was trying to find the Stones version, I could never find it on YouTube. I was like 2000, I could never find it. And then finally, I ended up getting, because I got a bunch of the Rolling Stones albums. I got Satanic's Majesty's Request, or whatever that album's called. And when I heard it, I was like really surprised. Like, this doesn't even sound like Ace's version of the song at all. It's so different. And again, it's some people would say that Ace made it like simplified it, but I think he gave it some real balls to it. I think the Stones version is just really odd, but Ace gave it the thing that we were talking about earlier. He gave it his stamp. Ace is all about the blues. Ace is all about 12 bar stuff and stuff like that. And the whole ADA, that whole progression that he plays is very simple, and it sounds fine, and it's a very Ace Frehley sounding. Like, see, that's the kind of stuff that he writes around that scale set. And I think it's great. I mean, acoustically, it worked really well. In the 79 tour, I thought it worked well too, So I definitely think it's one of the stronger songs on Dynasty. Dynasty is one of my favorite Kiss albums overall. It's in my top 5. So when I first heard that, I think on side A, it was probably not my favorite song, but over the years, it has definitely grown on me. And Ace is all over that record. I mean, he has 3 songs on that album, that he does. So, you can't help but, grow to love that song too, because if you like Ace, Dynasty is an album for you, just like Unmasked is too.
Yeah, Mark, you as a guitar player, I mean, Rolling Stones has been at times a pretty guitar-based band.
Mm-hmm.
If you would pick a Rolling Stones song that you really enjoy, what would that be?
Well, I mean, I like some of their older stuff, like I like Bitch and Brown Sugar and Honky Tonk Woman and stuff like that. Actually, Honky Tonk Woman was one of the first songs I really got into, and it's so simple, that song. But that whole thing with the cowbell to be dance, it's so simple and catchy. And I think that's what Ace likes about the Stones, is that it's, he likes that kind of simplicity. And also, speaking of Unmasked, Ace started using Keith Richards' open G tuning on that album, like Talk to Me and Two Sides of the Coin. That's an open G tuning for the guitar. So that's very Keith Richards.
Yeah, Bitch was always my favorite. I always enjoy that one. I love that riff. Okay, top three. Number 3 is, let's reveal it. Rock and Roll Hell.
Wow.
Darn it, I wanted one.
Ken, as a true Gene fan, he's on the Gene team. Let's hear his take on Rock and Roll Hell.
I love this song. I put it at number 1. It is just a great choice for them to pick that to put on Creatures of the Night. It's different. It's interesting that they pulled a Bachman Turner Overdrive song to cover.
Canadiana.
Yeah, there you go. But it works so well. I just like the way it kicks in at the beginning, and then it drops off to the just the bass thumping and going on and into the verses. I like the whole mood of the song, and it works somewhat well for Gene. I mean, it's just perfect for Gene to sing. So I like it a lot. I had it number 1, so it's one of my favorite songs off of even Creatures. I love it so much. So just a great choice, great cover. Nothing wrong with it. It just works totally for me.
Yeah, we all ranked it pretty high. Lonnie,
Obviously,
what do you have to say about Rock and Roll Hell?
Yeah, I like Rock and Roll Hell. It talk about a song that fits in well. Talk about a cover song that fits in well on the album that it's placed. I mean, we were talking about Is That You a little bit ago, and like, oh, I didn't know it was a cover right away. I really didn't know, and I had Rock and Roll. I had a copy of Creatures since I was like a little kid. My older brother had it, and I had no idea that Rock and Roll Hell was a cover for the longest time, because it just flowed so well with the album, and it just sounds Kiss, like, get me out of this rock and roll hell, take me far away. Gene sings it so well. Eric's drumming on it is just incredible, and it just fits so good that even to this day I hardly even look at it as a cover, and I have to almost remind myself sometimes that it is a cover, because it sounds so great, and they did such a good job doing it. I had it ranked a little bit lower, and I can see why Ken put it 1 with his love for Gene, and it is such an incredible song. But very fittingly that it's at 3 on our list, because it's so well done.
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, I had a number 3 as well. When the Kiss Creatures box set came out, this is one of the songs I found very interesting, because it showed an early version of it where the song started out with the dun 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 dun, just that whole groove thing, and then I think we talked about it when we did the Creatures box review, how that part must have gotten tagged in late in the game at the very beginning. That they must have added that in late when they're songwriting, because it wasn't like that on the original. And if you listen to the Bachman Turner Overdrive version of this, it's similar, but there are elements of it that are different. Like the way they go into the chorus is different too. Like, get me out is like, he does that whole rock and roll bit a bit differently, how they get into it and get out of it. And I think Kiss does it much better. Like it's more smoother, the Kiss version. It flows better. I like the production much better of the Kiss version of it. Gene sings it really great. I think it's one of his better vocals on the album for sure. It's such a great song. I mean, if you want to talk about a great Kiss cover, this would definitely, it should be very high up on the list, like it is, because it has all the things in there that make it near perfect. Like even like what Lonnie said before, how keeping the essence and the root of the original, just enough of it in there so you know what the song is, but putting enough of a spin on it so that you can honestly say it's not just a flat out, rip off of it. They did add some elements of it that are different. Like I said, the transitions between some of the parts are different and stuff like that. And the introduction is just totally fantastic of this song. So I definitely think it's a winner, this song.
Yeah, I think they nailed it. It fits so well to this record. So is it your dog, Mark, that's sounding in the background?
Yeah,
Is
he's
there any
snoring.
trouble going on?
He's
What is
snoring.
going on?
Shadow is sleeping.
He's sleeping
I thought-
right here.
It almost sounds like someone is having sex in the background, but
I thought the same thing. I'm like, what is going on in one of these rooms?
Okay, so it's
Who is
Whoa.
moaning?
Okay, yeah, someone is moaning.
Well, if we would have heard some like mattress action, we could have maybe.
Okay, oh, then we know what it is. Okay, it's Shadow and snoring.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
snoring.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now we have only had 2 songs left, and you guys might know. Ken, what 2 songs are left? Do you know which the songs are?
I'm going to say, I don't know.
No,
Oh, I know.
Oh,
I know
Mark.
the two.
Mark.
oh, King of the Nighttime World.
King of the Nighttime World and God Gave Rock and Roll to You
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 final songs. Which one will make number
Huh.
1? Let's see.
Very curious.
Number
about this.
2 is I'll have to add that one. Just wait a
Choose
minute.
probably
Ah,
God.
no, what happened? Present. Oh,
I'm going to say
I
number
have
2
to
is
edit
God
this
Gave Rock and
later
Roll.
on. Share screen. Shadow.
Jesus,
Oh.
Shadow, come on.
Oh. Oh, let's see. No, like that. Okay. Let's reveal number 2. It is. Oh no. It is.
This technology is killing me.
Technology.
There.
God gave
Oh.
rock and
Rock and
roll
roll.
to you.
Wow.
13.5. And I was a bit surprised. I know 2 of
Yeah.
us had it at number 1. It was me
Really?
and Mark. But Lonnie, the
Wow.
Revenge guy, didn't have this one at number 1. For
I did
me,
not.
it's always been
He's honest.
a true Kissified song. A true Kissified song. They made some changes to it. They even changed the lyrics, and the whole vibe of the song is totally different than the original. I can't stand the original. I don't think it's any good
Argent.
at all. Argent,
Original.
exactly. Yeah, it's all about trees and stuff. Yeah, but this one is such a
trees.
great song, and I remember watching the video on MTV back in 1991, and it blew me away. I like the video as well, and they added some makeup stuff during the the what's it called, the bridge, I think. And the video was such a comeback for Kiss after the fiasco that is Hot in the Shade. All those demos, it sounded great, and it was they were trying out Bob Ezrin, I guess, a bit. And talk about a success. It did well over here in Europe. I think it charted as number 4 in England.
Wow.
That's one of their
That's pretty
highest.
high.
That's one of their highest ever.
Jesus.
And
Yeah.
it played all the time on MTV Europe over here. So it was a comeback for Kiss, and it was the beginning of Kiss's revenge. So I always enjoy this song, and I think it's the best cover they ever did. I think it feels like a Kiss song, and live it worked as well. And they added it towards the end of the show, and that shows you that they believed in the song, and they felt that it was something spectacular that they wanted to slap on the encore. You don't play anything. You pick the special songs for the encore, and God Gave Rock and Roll to You was quite often in the encore for Kiss. So this is my favorite Kiss cover of all time, but it wasn't Ken's favorite. What do you have to say about God Gave Rock and Roll to You?
What do you have to say for yourself?
It wasn't
What do you
number
have to say?
1. Oh, no. It was number 5 for me.
You brought it down.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That was my intention. No, it's a good song, great song. It's a vast improvement over the Argent version, like you said, Daniel. They did change, like you said, lyrics and so on, and the whole feel is much better. I liked it a lot when they first came out. I thought it was a great song. When Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, movie came out. Remember that?
Terrible
I remember getting the soundtrack for that, and
Me too.
I enjoyed it. It was different. I liked the way they had the little middle part too, the little mellow, a cappella type, stuff at the middle. So yeah, it's a really, really good song. Not my favorite one of theirs, but it's obviously pretty high. It's one of the obviously best covers that they ever did. So no problem with it.
Yeah, if you're watching YouTube, Mark is
Here
showing
it
the
is.
video, so it's such a great video, at least to me. Lonnie, you as the revenge guy, what do you have to say about God Gave Rock and Roll to You, and why didn't you have it higher?
I had it at 2. I did not have it at 1. I love God Gave Rock and Roll to You. It is a fantastic song, fantastic video. I love it when the band plays it live. I wish they would play it live. I think it would be very fitting for them to be playing God Gave Rock and Roll to You on the last tour, but that's a discussion for a setlist show. But I do enjoy, we do a lot of discussions on setlist, but I do love God Gave Rock and Roll to You. It is fantastic. It is great, but when I put it up to side by side with King of the Nighttime World, I like King of the Nighttime World better. That's a pure classic Kiss song, and I couldn't. It was tough, but I could not rank it above King of the Nighttime World. And I just like to point out that Mark has the root of all bad Kiss is Bob Ezrin, and the top 2 songs we're talking about today
That's right.
are Bob Ezrin produced songs.
Okay, let's move on to Mark and hear his
Very good point,
response
Lonnie.
to these accusations from Lonnie. Mark.
Yes, these accusations. Okay, so let me just double check one thing here. So I have God Gave Rock and Roll to You number 1. Okay. Yes, the root of bad Kiss is Bob Ezrin. Now let me explain something here. You guys all brought up a very important point as to why I actually liked this song. Bob Ezrin was not really on Kiss's radar for producing. He had been for a little while, but as we all know, he had some major white powder problems over the years, and he, was not exactly on everybody's list to produce anymore, especially after what happened on The Elder, right? So this song was a tryout to see if he was back, mentally enough to do a song with Kiss. And what does that tell you? That they didn't pick an originally written song. They picked a cover song to have Bob do first before they let him touch any of their original material, which tells me a lot, which means that they still weren't 100% sure about his skill at that time, because how Kiss are with their original stuff, especially at that time. They were very much, writing a lot of stuff. They had to make a big comeback. They knew this record had to be huge for them. And as Daniel pointed out, this song did really well for them. It charted really well in numerous countries. The video was being played all the time. I mean, it was also a tribute to, Eric Carr, because he had passed. So that also gave it a little bit of prestige as well, because he was on the video, right? But I'm telling you, the song is good. And I've said before, from Bob Ezrin's work with Kiss, Revenge is probably the best thing that he's done with them sonically. Maybe not songwriting wise, but sonically, he's definitely very, very good on this one. But, I think it's obvious why they did what they did. They didn't trust him still. And there's a reason why, because he is the root of bad Kiss.
Thank you, Mark, for your reviews on Bob Ezrin, the root of all evil. Okay, and then there's no real surprise here, because we all know number 1 is King of the Nighttime World, with an average score of 14.25 out of a maximum of 15. So we all had King of the Nighttime World in the first or second position, I think. So that says it all. And I can start just by saying that King of the Nighttime World, it took years before I even understood that it was a cover, because it sounded so Kiss. And it fit the album perfectly. And I have to disagree with Mark. I kind of like Destroyer, or I like Destroyer, and many of the songs there. Detroit Rock City, God of Thunder, King of the Nighttime World is right up there. So, and it's always been a good song for them live, and they opened up quite some. Maybe I think they opened up in '95 with King of the Nighttime World in Japan, and maybe. Is that Mark burping
sorry.
on our show once
Sorry.
again?
Burping, moaning.
Blame it on the dog.
Okay, so but King of the Nighttime World opened up, I think, in '95 when they played Australia and maybe Japan. They opened up with this one. Didn't they open up the Dinosaur Tour with the King of the Nighttime World as well? Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think it worked. I love that, the tone that Ace starts, the vibrato that Ace starts off the song with a vibrato, and it totally works. So it's a classic Kiss song, even though it's a cover. So I can see it being number one. I can accept that, and it's a great Kiss song, and all of you guys seem to enjoy it. But Ken, what do you have to say about King of the Nighttime World?
Yeah, it was number 2 on my list. Great song, great cover. Yeah, it does sound like Kiss for sure. The whole thing. I think I've heard the original. I can't. What's the name? I can't remember the name of the band right now. But Hollywood something was it? I can't remember.
I think so.
Anyway. I can't remember. But
Yes.
it was an improvement over that song too. It was a good choice to put it in. It's a perfect song. Whenever I hear it, I want it to be right after Detroit Rock City, just like on the first album, and it was that way on the live too. Also, it just fits to fall right behind Detroit Rock City when they play it. I think that's the best way to introduce that song. I wish they did that today. Actually, I wish they did that. Detroit Rock
Hollywood
City
Stars.
Hollywood Stars. There he goes. Hollywood something. I knew it. So yeah, great song. Made it their own. Another one where they made it their own, and it just fits. It does fit the album Destroyer perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense. Even the lyric content of it kind of makes sense for a band. King of Nighttime World. Being in a rock band playing at night, and Queen, like the night headline Queen, like groupie or whatever, kind of fits. So it's really good.
Lonnie, do you agree this is the number one song that Kiss ever made a cover of?
Yeah, it is my number one song. I mean, I ranked it over God Gave Rock and Roll to You, and kind of surprised you guys a little bit with that. But it is so good. And it fits so well on Destroyer coming right after Detroit Rock City. And I'm with Ken. I wish they would play it live right after Detroit Rock City. Like, I wish they're opening with Detroit Rock City on this tour. Go right in the King of the Nighttime World. It worked well in the reunion tour, playing it right after Deuce, though, I thought, as well. I thought it fit in fine. It sounds great after Detroit Rock City, but I thought it fit in fine after Deuce on the reunion tour. And then they kind of abandoned it. And I think they've played it here and there. It actually, in 2014, when they were touring with Def Leppard, the first night or two, they opened with King of the Nighttime World, and then they abandoned it real quick, which I thought was a shame because I thought that was really cool. They're doing something different and opening with that song. I think it is a great opener as well. And to echo what Ken's saying, it just sounds like a Kiss song. The lyrics sound like a Kiss song. Far from our folks, they'll never ever know. It's kind of like Take Me almost, like her mama didn't know she was there. I mean, it just fits
cleaner.
Right. It just fits so well, of being out late with a girl, doing things maybe you shouldn't be doing, and don't worry, your parents won't know type thing. It just it's so Kiss, and it's just in the vein of so many Kiss songs. It just works so perfectly. That's why it's number one on my list.
I think from Take Me, the classic line is her moonlight shining down on her head. That's like, okay, I know what's going on here. That's pretty blunt. Okay, Mark, what about this song, King of the Nighttime World?
Well, once again, our good friend Bob E shines on here. And again,
Ye-
this again is something where out of all the songs on the album, I think this song has the least amount of infractions on it compared to the other songs. I mean, you have like piano on Detroit Rock City, you have two bells on, all these other things. You have all these unnecessary instrumentation that doesn't belong on Kiss songs on there. But on this song, he doesn't do any of that. This is probably the best example of him doing a more straight ahead rock song. It starts off with the feedback guitar, it kicks in, it sounds consistent with the album because it has like the grandiose reverb and all that kind of big lush sound that he does on the album, which didn't need to be. But he kept it on there and it works for this song. The drums are good on this song. I think Paul's vocals are good on this song. And again, like you guys, I didn't even know that it was a cover song until many, many, many years later after the fact. I think there was like some article on the internet actually that first kind of introduced it to me being a cover. I had no clue that it was a cover song. But, Bob, I think, can be given a little bit of space for this one because, like I said, he didn't really botch this one as much as he did the rest of the album. In fact, I think this song is probably the one that's probably the most listenable on the whole album, as far as none of that extra crap that he likes to throw in to songs. So yeah, is it number one? Am I surprised? No, I still think God Gave Rock and Roll to You should have been number one, but I have no problems with this being number one.
Thank you. So here we have the final list, and if you see the average score, King of the Nighttime World, God Gave Rock and Roll to You, Rock and Roll Hell, 2000 Man, New York Groove, and Is That You? Those are the songs that scored real high. But according to the KissFAQ panel, King of the Nighttime World is the best song Kiss ever made a cover of. So I can live with that. But two more questions before we end the show. Let's start with this one. What song should Kiss have covered? They made some real bad choices. Then She Kissed Me, maybe Kissin' Time, and a few more. But there are a whole lot of songs that could have been great Kiss songs. Take a few seconds and think about that, and then let's go to. I can start. I always wanted to have a cover of that Led Zeppelin song they always performed live, Whole Lotta Love. I think Paul in his heyday could have done an awesome version of Whole Lotta Love. So I could have seen that ended up on maybe Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits instead of, Rock Hard or X in Sex, or even being an additional song on that one. I think that would be been kind of cool. It wouldn't have taken a whole lot of effort from Kiss. So let's put whole lot of love on that album. That would have been great. So that's my pick. That's a song that they loved. That's something that inspired them as youngsters. Why not put it on the album instead of like Kissin' Time and Then She Kissed Me and all that crap? Mark, what do you have to say?
Actually, one song I would have loved to hear them do, because on their tours, like for the Asylum tour, they did Won't Get Fooled Again by The Who, right? But what I'd like for them to do, because I know they're obviously Who fans, but I would have loved to have heard them do something like Pinball Wizard. I wonder what that would have sounded like if they did a song like that. It's not an overly long song. It's a song that's pretty popular amongst the Who catalog, and songs that probably Kiss fans probably already knew as well. All right. And, it doesn't require any other kind of, real, like I can envision Peter and those guys being able to play it because he probably loved it as well growing up, because even I remember reading Peter Criss saying that he liked The Who as well. So it's very important if you're going to get a cover song from these guys that it has to be a band that they all kind of love and appreciate. So I'd love to hear something like that.
That's a cool pick. Lonnie.
I'm going to say American Woman by Guess Who. I think Paul Stanley would have done a great job at that.
Yeah.
Well, Lenny Kravitz covered it. It was originally
Yeah.
done by Guess Who,
Right.
and Lenny Kravitz did a great job of it too. But
Yeah, I love that
I
one.
think Kiss, as much as the image of that they really like to portray the red, white, and blue, American this and that, and they have a couple other songs like that with the All American Man and Rockin' in the USA. I think Paul Stanley would have done a great job singing American Woman, and I think it would have worked really, really well. I think that would have been fun.
Yeah. Cool pick, Lonnie. That would have been something. Ken?
I know there was rumors that they were thinking of covering Elvis, like Jailhouse Rock. I think that would have been an interesting try to do that. Otherwise, instead of maybe like another Argent song, Hold Your Head Up was a cool song. I would have liked to hear them do that. Possibly. There's another song that almost sounds like Kiss back in the early 80s, if you remember, called by the band Axe, which was Rock and Roll Party in the Streets. And I thought, man, that's a song that Kiss could do. It sounds like Kiss almost. Just the song itself. I thought that would be interesting if they, had tried to do that later in the 80s or something like that, cover that. But those are a few.
Yeah, cool picks. You guys should have worked for Kiss back in the day. I would have seen some cool covers. Maybe they should have done a Swedish cover as well. I would have loved them to do an ABBA cover. Like I know Ken has listened to ABBA. Summer Night City by ABBA. That's a perfect song for Kiss. So that would be kind of cool.
Interesting.
Okay, the final question for today's show is this: covers from other bands that you have really enjoyed, that you think was spectacular. I have to go with that Johnny Cash cover. If you remember, he did a 9 Inch Nails cover towards the end of his life. It was. Do you remember that one? It was a great, touching video. Yeah. That's my pick. I think that's my favorite cover of all time. I think it's so cool. The video, the song, you hear he's an old man, knowing that the end is near. And that song just and it's totally Johnny Cash, and you can't even imagine that it's a 9 Inch Nails songs when you hear it. So that's my favorite cover of all time. Such a great song. So go and listen to that Johnny Cash. Though those albums he did towards the end, weren't they called like Americana or something? Americana. He did a lot of covers of American bands.
Yeah.
And did them like country style, and I love those albums. But that cover in particular is awesome. It's one of the best ever. Let's go on to Mark for this one. Let's hear him.
Well, there's two that come to mind immediately that I think are my favorite covers. The one for sure won't be a surprise at all to people who know my love of Yes, and that's America. I love that cover that he did of Paul Simon's song. Okay, Shadow. Somebody's at the door. So. And the other
song, a good show.
Yeah, he's having a great show. And the second one that I have to mention, because it was one of the most interesting covers I've ever heard, is Typo Negative's cover of Black Sabbath. I thought that was
that's cool.
That is the greatest example.
That whole record is awesome. Yeah.
That just shows a great example of what you can take an original song like that and put their stamp on it, and it turned it into even more doom song than it was originally intended to be.
Nice picks. Lonnie.
In the early 90s, I think Kid Joe did a cover of the Harry Chapin song Cats in the Cradle, and they made it a hit all over again. And I thought that was really, really good. And I don't know if they still do it. They are touring the US right now, but I haven't seen them since the early 90s. But I thought that was really, really cool. They did a great job on that. I like that, and I like Guns N' Roses has a whole album full of covers, so that's hard for me not to leave off that. I think they did a great job of Down on the Farm, and they're actually playing that live in Europe right now. And I hope it stays in the set list when they come back to the States late summer, early fall. So I think that'd be fun to hear some stuff off Spaghetti Incident, which I think is a fun album that gets overlooked.
I remember being pretty disappointed when they released that one, but
it's
hard to follow Use Your Illusion.
Sure, but I think throwing a song off that album in the set list today, I think is fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. Ken.
Yeah, well, there's a couple. There's, if you remember the band, if any of you know, Klaatu, right? from the 70s. They were an unknown band, but another artist covered one of their songs, which was Calling Occupants of Interplanetary Craft, that song. And the band that did it was the Carpenters. And it's so good. I mean, it's the Carpenters have the great production and stuff, but it's really, really a good covering, enjoyable. It's a long song too. It's very long, and they kept it long, and they didn't screw around too much with it. But so it was really, really cool. It actually, you wouldn't think that would happen, but it was really, really good. Another song would be like that sticks out to my mind is Blackfoot doing Wishing Well, which is a really a cool song, and they just made it their own on that one and rocked it out. So those are a couple songs that there's so many covers out there, but those are a couple that just come to mind.
Cool picks, Ken. Klaatu, Lonnie, isn't that a Star Wars character?
Klaatu, no.
It sounds like a Star Wars character.
Yeah, I think it's like green in the face, one of Jabba the Hutt's.
That's Greedo.
No. Klaatu.
Boba Fett, Greedo. What do you?
God damn it! I'm sure of this.
I can start naming.
Tatooine. You're thinking of the planet.
No. Klaatu is one of the characters from Star Wars. Lonnie, I'm so disappointed you didn't know that.
There's Plo Koon.
No, it's Klaatu. K-L-A-T-W. It's a green in Jabba the Hutt's palace. You have to go and check that out, Lonnie. You don't know your Star Wars. Okay. And that's the show. No, I don't think that's it. I think he knows a lot, but I got him on that one. Go and look up Klaatu. Okay. That's it for today. So thank you, guys.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.